Hello guys, welcome back to another Android tutorial. Now we are going to create an Android application that will communicate with the MySQL database. So this application contains two activity. First one is a login activity and second one is a registration activity. So this is the login activity layout that contains two edit text, username and password. Here is the layout file. The first edit text is username, user password, this is user pass and this is username, the ID is username, and this contains two buttons. First one is for login purpose, the on click method is user login, and second button is for the registration purpose, the on click method is user reg. Okay, now here is the registration form. Here is the registration form that contain three edit text, name, username and password. Here is the layout file. The first edit text ID is name, second edit text ID is new username, third one new user pass, and the last one is a button with on click method user reg. Okay, now go to the activity main.xml file. First we need to define this method user login and user reg on the main activity.java. So open up the main activity.java, define that method, public void user reg. That is the first method. The second method is public void user login. Okay, don't forget to add the view argument for this method. First one is view, here also needed. Okay, so whenever user click the new registration button, we have to open the registration form. So that means we have to start the second activity. So from this method we have to start the second activity. So start activity, new intent, this, and the second activity name is register, class name is register.class. Okay, this will start the second activity. Now go to the second activity, register.java. It extends action bar activity that is deprecated. Instead of this one, simply use activity, and there is no need of an options menu. Remove these unwanted code segments. Okay, so first here we need some variables. We need some edit text variables. First one is, I name it as et name. Second one is et username. Third one is et user pass. Okay, now we need to initialize these variables. First one is et name equal to, typecast this one into edit text and find it using find view by id method, r.id dot, the variable name is name, identifier is name. Okay, now we need the second variable. Copy this one, and the second variable name is et username, find view by id, and the identifier name is new username. Okay, and the last one is et user pass, find view by id, new user pass, that is the identifier name. Okay, now we initialize all these variables. Now we need some string values, so declare some string variables, string name, username and user pass. Okay, now on the registration form there is a button. For the button, the on click method is user reg, so we have to define that method also. So public void user reg. Okay, don't forget to add the view argument for the button methods. So we have to initialize the string variables here. First one is name equal to et name dot get text dot to string. Second one is username equal to et username dot get text dot to string. Third one is user pass equal to et user pass dot get text dot to string. Okay, now we need to pass this information into the server, and we have to put this information into the MySQL database. So we need another Java class for performing the background operations. So right click the package and create a new Java class. I name it as background task and click OK. Extends this class with async task. Pass void for the generic types. We need to change it later. Okay, here you need to implement the method doInBackground method and click OK. We need some other methods. First one is the on pre-execute method, and I need the on progress update method, and final one I need the on post execute method. Okay, now go to the register.java. Now we need to pass these information into the background task. So for this class I need some constructor. So here I am going to declare some constructor background task. So here I declare some context variable in this class. I name it as ctx and put some argument for the constructor ctx. Now initialize the variable from the constructor this dot ctx equal to ctx. Okay. Now go to the register.java. Now we have to pass this information into the background task. Here I need another string values. String method equal to, I put some value register for this variable. Okay, now we have to pass this information into the background task. So create an object of background task, name it as background task equal to new background task, and pass the context as this. Now we have to execute the async task. So call the execute method and pass these informations. First one is method, first pass method, second name for the user, third one is username, and the last one is user pass. So 4 string arguments. Okay, now go to the background task.java. First here we have some params, so the type is string, so you need to change the generic into string, and on the doInBackground method this is also string, change it into string. Yeah, okay. Now we need to do something on the doInBackground method. From this method we have to pass the information into the MySQL database. For that, first we need to identify what is the operation, whether it is registration or login. So create some variable called the method equal to params of 0. Okay, and if the value for this variable equals register, we have to perform the registration operation. Okay, so before going to do the registration we need some URLs. So here I declare some URLs. We need 2 URL, first URL for registration and second URL for login purpose. The first one is reg URL, registration URL, and define some URL http and put some IP 10.0.2.2, and that will represent the local host. And now we need to specify the folder name. We create a folder name inside the WAMP server public directory called web app, and our script name is register.php. Okay, this is the first URL. Now we need another URL for login, so create another URL. This is login URL, Okay, and instead of register.php, here you need to call the login.php. Okay, now if the method is register, we have to get the name, username and password. So create some string variables here. String name equal to params of 1. Now string username equal to params of 2, and the last one string user pass equal to params of 3. Okay, now do not use the HTTP client or HTTP post because all these methods are now deprecated. So you have to use the HTTP URL connection. So before that you need to create an object of URL equal to new URL, and pass the first URL. Here this is registration, so you have to pass the registration URL, so reg URL, and here you need to put some try catch, surround with some try catch. Now we have to create an object of HTTP URL connection equal to URL dot open connection, and here you need to add some catch clause and typecast this one into HTTP URL connection. Okay, now we have to set some parameter for the HTTP URL connection. So HTTP URL connection dot set request method. Here I am going to use the post method, and here I'm going to pass some information into the URL. So HTTP URL connection dot set do input, sorry, it is do output into true because we pass some information. Okay, now to write the information we need some buffered writer variables. Buffered writer equal to new buffered writer, new output stream writer. First to pass the output stream. Yeah, before this one we have to get an object of output stream. We need to get the output stream from the HTTP URL connection. So output stream I name it as OS equal to HTTP URL connection dot get output stream. Okay, so here you need to pass the output stream object first, then you need to pass the encoding format. Here the encoding format is UTF-8. Okay, now we need to write the information into the buffered writer. So buffered writer dot write, call the write method. Sorry, before going to write we set up the data. So here we use the post method, so that means we have to encode the data before send it. So create some string here, string data equal to URL encoder dot encode. First one represent the identifier, I name it as user, and the second argument is the encoding format. Here the encoding format is UTF-8. Now you have to specify the values, so put an equal symbol. Okay, now you have to specify the value, so URL encoder dot encode. Here the first value is name, and specify the encoding format, it is UTF-8. Okay, now we need to add the username, user pass. This is user, so you have to put an AND operator. Okay, so I copy these entire things and put it here. The second value is username, and the data is username. Okay, and the last value is user password. Last value is user password, I name it as user pass and pass the variable user pass. Okay, now there is no need of this plus symbol. Close this one. Okay, now we have to write this data into the buffered writer. So buffered writer dot write data. Now we have to flush the writer, buffer writer dot flush, and close the buffered writer and close the output stream. Okay, and finally create another input stream variable. To get the response from the server, we have to create some input stream. I name it as IS equal to HTTP URL connection dot get input stream. So inside script there is no server response. Simply close the input stream. Okay, and finally return some response. Return registration success. Okay, so here from the doing background method we have some return type, that is string. So here you need to change this one into string. Now this is string. Okay, now we have to modify the generic type of the async task. So we have some result, that is string type. So change this one into string. Okay, and on the on post execute method, this argument is also string. Change this one into string and change the variable name into result. Okay, and finally display a toast for the user. Use the context and display the result. Make it into long, and finally make it visible using show method. Okay, now we almost finished the coding to perform the registration. So after finishing the registration, we have to close the registration layout, registration activities. So call the finish method from this activity. This will close the activity. Okay, so now here we pass some information into a web server. So we have to add the internet permission. So go to the manifest file, open the Android manifest.xml file. Here you need to add the internet permission. Use permission and put the internet permission. Okay, now we finish almost all the coding on the Android side to put information into the database. Now we need to change something on the script. So go to the WAMP server folder, go to the public directory, open the script, open the register.php, open in notepad. Here we simply put some information directly here. So here you need to change that one into the, here we use the post method to pass information into the server. So put a dollar symbol and underscore and post and specify the identifier. Here the identifiers are, check on the background task.java. Here the identifiers are user, second one username and user pass. Okay, so the first one is user. Now the second one is username. Put underscore post username, and the last one is user pass. Call the post method and the identifier name is user pass. Okay, and I simply comment all the echo statements. And open the init.php and simply comment all the echo statements. Okay, Now we can check the application. So before going to check the application, you need to run the WAMP server, and we have to check the database. We have to check the database and table. Okay, open your browser and type localhost. Go to the PHP myadmin and go to the databases. Here is the database. We have to check whether there is already some information is available on the table. So select the table. Yeah, there is already one row of data is available on the table. So now I need to delete that one. So select the SQL and I need to delete the information and click go. Now there is no information is available on the database table. Okay, so here I use an IP 10.0.2.2. This is the default IP address used by the Android virtual device to connect to the local host. So here I am going to run this application on an Android virtual device. That's why I use this IP address. Instead of this, you can use your local computer IP address. Okay, so now we can run the application on an Android virtual device. Before run this application, here I find some simple mistake in this code. The first mistake in main activity.java. Here the start activity is in wrong method. We have to place the start activity in user reg method. That is the first mistake. And the second mistake in the background task.java. Here there is no space is permitted. You have to remove the space from here. Okay, now save the project. Now we can test the application. So now I am going to run this application. Okay, now the application available on a virtual device. Now click the register button. Now make a new registration. Put some name Thomas and put some username Thomas123 and put some password Thomas@321 and click register button. Now the registration is success. We can check the database now. Type localhost php myadmin. Okay, select the database. Our database is mywebappdb. Select the database and select the table. Here is the information: name Thomas, username Thomas@321 and password is also Thomas@321. I found there is another mistake. Maybe there is another mistake in this code. We can check it out. Yeah, here is another mistake. Here we pass user pass 2 times. Here this is username. This is username. Yeah, and the second one is user pass. That is the mistake. So we can run the application again. I run the application again. Okay, now click the register now button. Put a name Rupesh and put a username Rupesh123 and put a password Rupesh@321. Okay, and click register. Now the registration process is success. We can check the database. Refresh the database. Refresh it. Yeah, now it's fine. Name Rupesh and username Rupesh123 and password Rupesh@321. I hope you understand the concepts. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.